Hello, today we are going to be making pinwheel cookies. So we are in our tools and equipment unit, so we are going to be using our KitchenAid mixer. So the first thing I'm going to teach you is how to put your bowl in. So on my bowl you can see that I have two little prongs that come out of the back, and you can see I have this notch on the back of my mixer. So whether you have the mixer that opens up on top or you have this mixer, you're going to find where your little prongs meet. I'm going to put that on and underneath, and I'm going to pop it into place so that it does not move. If you have the bowl that lifts, you are going to twist the bowl into place. If you have this, you obviously put it in the into the prongs. So the next step is deciding which one of the attachments I'm going to use. So the first attachment that I have is the paddle attachment. This is normally used to cream butter and sugar together to make batters. I have a whisk attachment. The whisk attachment is used when you are whipping ingredients, or so if you've ever made like a meringue or whipped egg whites, this is where you're gonna go. And then our last one is our dough hook, and obviously this is used typically when you make yeast breads to make sure your dough does not stick to the paddle attachment, get inside. Same thing with the whisk. So because we're going to be creaming today, I'm going to use my paddle attachment. Now the paddle attachment, you can see, has this little line here that opens up, and it matches up with the line that's on our KitchenAid. So I have to find where those two meet. I push up and I twist in, and now you can see I'm locked in place. To take it off, I push up, twist. It comes off, same thing, and it stays on. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my one stick of butter that has been softened. So remember, softened means that it's a little bit squishy. And I'm going to put that in to my KitchenAid, and I'm also going to put in my 3/4 cups of sugar. So now that I have that in, I'm going to lift up this KitchenAid. If you had the other KitchenAid, you're just gonna put your top down. So from here, I'm going to put it on a speed of about 6 to 8. Hold on. I'm going to let that start to mix. I'm going to use my rubber spatula to scrape down the sides once I get there. And once I get to creaming, I'll kind of show you what that looks like. So I just mixed my butter and sugar together, and I should look like I have creamed butter and sugar. So what creaming is when I can no longer tell the difference between butter and sugar. So you shouldn't have little pebbles. It shouldn't be hardly mixed. When I have creamed butter and sugar, it looks like a smooth mixture that I cannot take apart. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and add in my egg and vanilla. So I'm gonna go at a low speed here, and I'm just going to go ahead, pour that in. This needs maybe a couple minutes, not a couple minutes, maybe a couple seconds to mix. It does not take very long. You can bump up your speed. And I should have a liquidy mixture at this point. Once I have that mixture all set, I'm going to release my bowl down, and I'm gonna scrape down the sides so that I'm getting anything off the bottom so I don't get a little pocket of unmixed. From there, I'm going to add my flour in increments. So I'm gonna add it gradually. So I'm gonna shake in about half of my mixture, or a third of my mixture, and I'm gonna let that mix together. And so the reason I want to pour in slowly into my KitchenAid, one is if I'm going at a really quick speed and I pour that flour in, what's gonna happen? Poof, it's going to go everywhere. So I'm adding slowly so that one, I don't make a mess, and two, so that the flour gradually adds in and I don't get any dry spots in my dough. So again, shook a little bit more in there. I'm gonna bump up my speed just a little bit to combine quicker. And once almost all the flour is absorbed, I'm going to add in my last little batch here. So I did 3 installments of my flour. I'm going to take care of some of my mise en place. This is where I would be sending someone to go wash for me while I'm waiting. Now, as this is coming together, I don't want little crumbles. I want a dough ball. I'm going to stop it about here. And I'm going to show you how my mixture looks in just a second. So I'm going to use my rubber scraper, get everything off of my paddle attachment. I'm going to set this off to the side because I am now done with him. And I'm going to give this a couple mixes over. And at this point, I should have a nice little dough ball. From there, now I have to split my dough in half. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a pair of gloves because I am going to be using food coloring. When it comes to food coloring, if you get it on your hands, you're going to have, I have purple food coloring, so I'm going to have purple hands. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take my dough ball. I'm going to mix it just a little bit more, make sure I get all of the good stuff out of the bottom. Now, with my dough ball, I'm going to do my best to cut this in half. So I'm gonna try and pull apart. Half of your dough is going to stay this color and half of your dough is going to be purple. So you're gonna go to your teacher. They are going to have some options for you to make for the colors. And I'm going to put just a little dot in here and I'm going to use my hands to mix in my dough color until I get a purple ball and I have my normal color. So welcome back. We now have 2 little dough balls that we've wrapped in saran wrap and left them to cool overnight. So you'll have labeled these with your group number and we're going to go ahead. So the first thing that we're gonna do is you're either gonna get a sheet of parchment paper or something that's laminated like this because we are going to roll both doughs out to about the size of the sheet of paper. So if you see, you can roll directly on this or you can choose to roll directly on your table. Now, instead of using flour to roll out, we are going to use powdered sugar to keep them sweeter because this is a butter cookie, so we don't want them to get too floury. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to unwrap one and I unwrap my 2. So I have my 2 dough balls. I'm gonna start off by rolling out my first one. So I'm going to take a little bit of powdered sugar and I'm going to sprinkle that onto my table. I'm gonna put my little dough ball on there. I also like to take just a little bit of powdered sugar. I'm gonna put some in my hand. I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit on top of my dough ball, but I'm also going to rub onto my rolling pin so that my rolling pin doesn't stick to my dough. Now, when I roll out, I'm not wanting to put all my weight onto that, okay? I'm gonna take and I'm just going to slowly roll side to side, turn my dough, I'm gonna roll side to side. Now, the reason that I don't want to roll back and forth and back is because sometimes my dough rolls up onto my rolling pin. So I'm gonna make sure that I'm trying to get an even space and that I'm getting to the size of the paper. So I'm gonna start seeing, I'm kind of looking like it. I need to go just a little bit wider. Now it doesn't obviously have to be a perfect square, but I'm gonna stop about there because I'm looking like I'm just over the size of the sheet of paper. Now, the next one I'm just gonna do directly on top of my sheet of paper so that I can move it when I need to. I'm gonna spread that out. I'm gonna put my dough on top. Repeat, sprinkle a little on top, put a little on my rolling pin, and I'm gonna get to roll it out. Again, turning side to side. You can see it started to peel back at me. I'm just about there. I've rolled out. Okay, now I have this sheet of dough and I have this sheet of dough. I need to get them on top of each other. So because I'm on this parchment paper, I'm literally going to flop over on top of each other. Now, it's not the end of the world if it's not super duper smooth. I can work that out just a little bit, take in, tug in. I also have my dough scraper that I can use to kind of help pull up my sides so that it's not stuck. From here, I'm going to roll my dough, not short ways, I want to go long ways. Now, the whole purpose of this, so I'm going to help scrape up with my dough. I'm gonna roll nice and tightly. So as I roll, I'm not using my fingers to push, I'm more using my palms and my hands to come. I want to be nice and tight together. Otherwise, the pinwheel is supposed to look like a circle, right? Twisted in. So I don't want to have loose. I want to have nice and tight. So from here, I have my log. I'm going to cut off kind of the ends with my dough scraper because I'm not really, you can see I'm kind of looking like a pinwheel, but my ends are a little flaky. You can like pull these apart, put them in little dough balls, and set them on there. So on your recipe, it tells you that you need 1/2 inch cookies. So I have my ruler. I'm going to go ahead and put that in front. I'm going to look for the 1/2 inch, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to slice. You can use your dough scraper, you can use your straight edge spatula, you could use your a chef's knife, whatever you guys have. And I wanna make sure these are nice and even so that they cook evenly. Now you can see I have a little pinwheel. You can see my little motion. I'm going to put these flat down. These cookies are butter cookies, so they are going to grow up, not out. So they can be just a little closer together than, let's say, like a chocolate chip cookie. I'm gonna pop these in the oven, and how am I gonna know when they're done? They're gonna have a nice golden outer crust, and the inside should look just a touch bit doughy for them to be in. I believe I put these in for about 12 to 15 minutes. Once they are on, you'll come back and you'll have a nice golden cookie that you can take home.